a man who does not take pride in his progeny, I, to be quite honest, I question that individual's manhood. I don't think that you're a real man if you don't take care of your kids. I think that you're a coward. I think that you have not taken seriously the very real consequences of procreation. And again, children were the pride of a man's life. Your seed was the most important thing. Something happened in our modern society to where making babies became just a side effect of pleasure seeking, and you just toss your kid by the wayside and move on to the next thing, and that's the mama's responsibility to deal with. And that to me is the way of a coward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Father Factor. This episode, we are going to talk about a father's guilt. I'm your host, Byron Ricks. I'm chopping it up with Josh and Brandon today. Hey, before I forget about it, if you enjoy the Father Factor and you want more of this content, subscribe and hit that bell. Bing, bing, bing. Okay, so a father's guilt. We talk a lot about fathers, and we call this the Father Factor. And I say because fathers count. And too often fathers have not counted in their kids' lives. They haven't been there for them. And we do this podcast for mothers who are raising kids without fathers. We do it for fathers who have kids, yet you are not able to see them or not with them. We do it for children who are growing up without their fathers in their lives. Hopefully that you can take some nuggets away from the things we discuss. Today is about fathers who feel guilt. Maybe they're in their kids' lives. Maybe they feel guilty because they divorced. Maybe they feel guilty for various reasons. And so that's what we're going to chop it up about today, a father's guilt. Josh.
What's happening? So, father's guilt. So this is something that was heavy on me and just a lot of the men that I deal with. You know, I do men's breakfast and deal with a lot of different men in different places in their life. And there's been a reoccurring theme of whether it be the word guilt, remorse, whatever it is, where sometimes you have a dad that is working, so he's not able to make a lot of the games or the practices, and he's feeling bad because he's missing out on that, right? In some cases, you have fathers that don't earn what others, and they feel like they're not able to provide the same lifestyle that others have. And in some cases, it could be, we talked about earlier, somebody that may have had children later in life and may not be as mobile or as energetic as they once were, and they feel bad that their kids may have missed out in their prime years. So a father's guilt, from my opinion, can run deep, it can run wide. It's not one specific thing. Right. It's just really that prompting within us that in most cases should not push us away from change. It shouldn't push us into seclusion and feeling just bad. It should really be a call to action. I know we talked about comfort zones before. And so whenever something riles up in us as fathers where we are frustrated, feeling bad, guilty, allowing that to be a call to action. Because we talk about men being providers, right? Fathers being providers, but there's more than one way to provide. Presence, showing up, it's not just money.
Yeah. You know, I was listening to a program, a show. I want to say it was a pastor, but I don't quote me on that. And he said that, Brandon, I know that you're going to weigh in on this one, by the way. He said that men being providers, that is something that society has put on men. He said that God did not make man to be a provider. He said that when God put Adam and Eve in the garden, what did Adam have to provide? Everything was provided by God. Mm-hmm. He said that God put Adam there to be the leader, and he did not lead. What's your take on that, Brandon?
That's interesting. I think that he's right, but also incorrect. Okay. I think that, yes, the original intent, there was nothing for him to provide because provision was provided. I would agree with that.
Okay.
As a result of the fall, though, the work was a inevitable result of the fall.
Of the fall,
So
right?
therefore,
So then,
now
therefore,
the
man,
man's responsibility was now to the ground creates thorns and thistles, and you
Right.
have to work with your hands and the sweat of your brow, and it's going to be painful doing that, and you're going to have to labor for the things you have. So yes, pre the fall, he's correct. Post the fall, we took upon the responsibility of having to be the ones to provide. But initially, Yahweh's design was for us to be creators and image bearers in
so
creation.
what was the woman's role then after the fall? Was she not to be? What was she to be?
Well, her role still changed, stayed the same, but now the pain of that, and that's why it says, you're going to desire for your husband, it's going to be strong, but yet you're going to also desire to rule over him. So I think that's why you see this dynamic in female-male relationships. It's this constant tugging and fighting over headship and authority, submission, what that means, what that entails. Is it positive? Is it negative? And a woman is constantly in this state of consternation about the dynamics between man and woman, whereas before it was harmonious and synergistic.
Okay.
I mean, it's to me what I agree with that. So what I'm hearing is that we're designed to lead because the provision was there, but pre the fall, in addition to the leader design, it never changed, is we added in the need to provide, to work the land.
But does to provide mean that the husband provides? Well, let me ask you: is there more than one area that the husband provides, or he can provide monetarily? But what else?
There's the provisions can be, the physical needs, right? We're talking about the food, all the natural things that we're talking about, in addition to security, safety, guidance. Providing the leadership that they need, right? In addition to that, we talked about at one point how things have changed with Dad. Back in the day when you had to work your land or your farm, Dad was still in proximity. So Dad was still around, right? He just wasn't leaving and going to marketplace, going to work and clocking in. He is somewhere on the land working it. So not only is he providing for their natural needs, but he can provide relief for mom.
So it's our premise that we're saying is that the guilt that men feel is associated with the inability to provide
in whatever area that may be. It may be different for each person. If you got bread, you balling out, you can provide financially, but if you are so tied to your schedule, are you providing the time? Are you providing the proximity?
See, when I hear provide, at least that's how it's been represented in America, is providing is a man providing everything that his wife needs, monetarily, house. Well, when you say monetarily, they take care of the house, the car, and everything else. So, I don't feel guilt. That's why this one's is a tough one for me, and I'm want to try to really understand it. But then, the way I grew up a single parent, as you know, latchkey kid, welfare, and all that. And my mother and I were partners, if you will. I became a partner as I got older. And our goal was survival. We had to survive. And so I guess it was never instilled in me that I had to take care of, per se, all by myself. So that's probably caused some of the challenges I had early on when I got married, because I didn't see myself as having to take care of my wife. I saw her as my partner, and I saw that we had to survive in this life, and we had to thrive in this life, and at some point, hopefully, to flourish in this life. And so, let's just say, thriving, surviving, took 100% of X. And if she gave 70% of X, and I gave 30% of X, and we hit that 100%, then that's good.
Well, then maybe this doesn't apply to you, though.
Let me finish the point. Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe this doesn't apply to you, though, because
maybe it doesn't. That's why I said I'm wanting to learn on this one, because I've never felt any guilt about not being able to provide for my wife. I have, and then as I talk through that in my mind, maybe I have, right? Because I remember, early on when, we didn't have a house, and we would drive through neighborhoods, and my wife would just look at she wanted a house so badly, and I really wanted to help. We came from nothing, so maybe I did feel some guilt.
No, I think it's labeled differently. I think it can be. I'll give it a great
I
example.
felt bad, Lee.
Bad. Like for me, I use that
guilt
word.
Suggested you did something wrong, right?
Yeah, and I've done a lot wrong as a
Right,
father.
you did. That's what I'm saying. But
I don't think there's a father.
But I'm talking about as a husband, though.
I'm talking about
He's
father's
talking
guilt.
about, I don't think he's talking about specifically as a husband.
I'm talking about as a father.
As a
As a father.
Because I want.
You're right.
I want to because we can talk about that too.
Okay, but as a father.
But as a father, so I'll say it like this. I know I got tons and tons of blooper reels. Like
I'm sure I do too, but I don't know.
And so I'll share one. I'll share one of my early ones. I mean, we talked about the police, me running from the police for the baby at one point. We get into that details in another episode. I got a better one for that.
Right.
I spent my last $6 not on a pack of diapers, and I thought my daughter had them.
Right.
On a bag of weed and a cigarello. You know what I'm saying? And I get to the crib, and I check with my baby mama, like, yo, she got him? Mind you, I'm 19, 20 years old, right? Like, yo, we good? Yeah. Well, she thought we was. I'm like, oh, yeah, let me go ahead and get that. And I get the crib, feeling good, smiling. Like, yeah.
$6, man. $5 bag and $1 cigarette.
I think there was about 59 cents back then.
Yeah,
though, you
you got some change left over.
Yeah, a little
You
change.
got you a Jolly Rancher from the corner store.
Give me a quart of water, one of them oatmeal pies. You know what I'm saying? And
wow.
But I get back and she's like, "Did you get diapers?" I said, "You said we didn't need no diapers." And I felt bad because now I literally had to wrap my daughter in one of my T-shirts. And what did I do? Did I take accountability? No, hell no. I called Wachovia Bank and went off on them for messing up my account because I didn't want to accept the fact that I made the mistake.
Man,
right?
Messed up your heart till you wasted that weed.
Oh, man.
Now you can't even enjoy it now.
Felt bad.
Angry.
Yeah, man.
Daughter got no diapers.
No diapers. Baby mama tripping the baby in a T-shirt. I got to call Wachovia and say, hey, why are you playing with my money, man? But what it was is I didn't understand there's ignorance in a lot of that. With the bank part, I thought when you swipe a card back then, it instantly was gone. It takes time to process. Some of them transactions take time, especially back then. So things would come out unexpected because I wasn't balancing. Nobody taught me to balance a checkbook or anything like that. And so instead of saying, oh, it's happening to me, and then when it happened to my daughter because of me, I tried to find an outlet to blame. Right. Well, because they didn't take my money out fast enough, so I messed it up. But at the end of the day, I've always looked back at that and felt terrible. Like, she doesn't have what she needs so that she can be not just comfortable, right, as a baby, but sanitary. Right. And it's because of my failure. So I did feel guilt in that regard.
That's a good example.
I saw where you did, on your notes, you did you listed a Pew Research study of 2023.
Oh, yeah.
That said 57% of fathers that felt guilty because they didn't spend enough time with their kids.
Right.
When I researched for the book, I did get that a lot I got that the most, should I say, from fathers who felt guilt was because of the time or lack thereof they had spent with their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they should feel guilty. There's a lot of deadbeat dads out there.
And I mean, there's some good ones.
There's a lot of broke down, busted men who don't take care of their kids, okay? And they deserve to feel guilty. And they deserve whatever calamity comes to them as a result of it. Because, listen, if you are going to make children, okay, this is your progeny. For thousands of years of human history, okay, your seed has been the most important thing in life. People groups, nations, and tongues, tribes have put all of their effort and energy in procreation and making sure their line and lineage was sustained. A man who does not take care of his progeny is a man who honestly has neglected his intention and purpose, one of his primary purposes for living, okay, has abnegated his responsibility, and whatever calamity comes to him, he deserves it.
Okay, if I go back to your farm, who put the farm example out?
I did.
Right. To the farm example, Dad worked the farm, but didn't the whole family work the farm?
Yeah.
All the kids worked the farm. In fact, in those days,
they
the
were
more
partners.
kids you had, the more labor you had.
Oh yeah.
So
we having twins?
So
yes.
because everybody provide. I guess I'm going. Everybody contribute to the provisions of the family.
Exactly. Until this society where we had to go away from the family to go get provision and bring it back, right? Versus the whole family, because mom might be preparing lunch while dad and the kids are drawing water, feeding
Milking
cows, whatever. I'll go out there and do this for me,
Eat the
son.
chickens.
You know, because that's normal because we're all throwing in to provide. And, but there is a leader in that pat, right?
Yeah, but
And so
the difference is though, Josh, that in your example, you were trying to provide. You just weren't taught how to balance your checkbooks. You didn't understand the financial aspects. You didn't do that nefariously, or you didn't do that with ill intent. You didn't. You weren't. You were there. You
But he still felt the guilt.
Yes, you felt the guilt, but I'm saying that when you look at guilt, right, it's the state of one who has committed an offense, especially consciously, a feeling of deserving blame or of offenses.
Right, exactly.
And so,
that's why I was struggling with it early.
exactly,
Well,
right. So that's what I'm saying. So yes, you may have felt guilty in the moment. I would argue that what you felt was not guilt; it was more shame.
Shame and embarrassment.
An embarrassment than actual guilt. I think men who don't take care of their kids and abandon their children and haven't seen their kids for 6, 7, 8 years, 10, 15, 20 years, those individuals is what we're really, for me, I think of. Those people should feel guilty. You should feel guilty because you were willfully neglectful.
But I was
and you didn't
willfully
take care
neglectful.
But you came home.
Before, I'm talking
You
about
wrapped
before
up
that.
the baby with a shirt. You still figured out a solution.
Right, but
what
before
were you-
that,
You said I asked her, did she have diapers?
Right.
And she said yes.
But also think about it like this, though. And this is just me, taking accountability in those areas.
Okay.
I chose knowingly the possible consequences of unprotected sex
Okay.
and brought this child into this world.
Okay.
And that's supposed to be under my watch, regardless of age. And because of my shortcomings, whether it be maturity, lack of self-control, I am taking away from my child's experience in life because I wasn't ready to bear that responsibility.
Yeah.
So therefore, this was still, even though I can claim ignorance or whatever, it still was. Can't be like, oh, that's how you get a baby? Oh, wow. I hit raw intentionally because I believe she couldn't have a child. I told myself I believed that. And she came. I know, and I told this with Byron before, I didn't want to be here. Just with the way I came up. I felt like a burden, unwanted, all that, right? So if my child is going to be born, they didn't ask to be here. So I need to ensure that I do all things to help facilitate and help them grow to be the best adult version of themselves so that they can take their own responsibility from then on.
I agree. And that's what I'm saying, Byron, is that what Josh is communicating is exactly the premise of my position, is that men have always taken pride in their progeny. A man who does not take pride in his progeny, to be quite honest, I question that individual's manhood. I don't think that you're a real man if you don't take care of your kids. I think that you're a coward. I think that you have not taken seriously the very real consequences of procreation. And again, children were the pride of a man's life. Your seed was the most important thing. Something happened in our modern society to where making babies became just a side effect of pleasure seeking, and you just toss your kid by the wayside and move on to the next thing, and that's the mama's responsibility to deal with. And that, to me, is the way of a coward.
Okay, why do you think men do that, feel that way? How come it's more rampant today than it has been ever in society, where men are making baby after baby after baby with this woman, that woman, that woman? In fact, I was watching YouTube the other day, and it had NFL players with the most kids?
Oh my gosh, the fact that that's a show is a problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't a show, but it was.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and it's like you had this one who had, they started with one who had like 5, then 6, and then 8, and then 10, and then 11, with 3, 4, 5 different baby mamas.
See, my pops could have been on there if he was an NFL star.
Well, Cam Newton, you got Nick Cannon. You got men like this who in their minds have come to believe that sowing their seed, okay? But, I believe that at least Nick Cannon and Cam Newton, from what I understand, take care of their kids. From what I understand. Right. So that's another moral implication that we can talk about. But
I think that's
those
different.
Individuals take care of their kids from what I've heard.
But if you have that many kids,
number.
you can't give them, going back to that Pew study, you can't give them the time. You may
Exactly.
provide the money, but you're not providing
the
nurturing. There you go.
Exactly.
You're not providing
the time, the presence.
The presence.
Exactly.
And you learn from your dad, boys, and girls do too for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn from his presence, from his behavior, from his nuances. I mean, from his wisdom. And he's not there. Yeah, he's writing that check.
No,
but he's not there.
And I'll say like this, just for those deadbeats, for all of those, right? If you're using your baby mama as an excuse to not be present, active, and all that, that's on you. Like it is. And she may make it difficult, but the attempt must be there because the child needs to see that. And that's the thing I think in society nowadays, we got men that make these children and, my baby mama making it hard. They this, and that. And it's a great excuse to step out. Because I use an example, when I broke my leg around COVID time, right? Me and some of my siblings, we get on Grand Theft Auto, great game. Highly recommended. And we run the streets. Just having fun
in GTA.
Those are not the sentiments of the Father Factor podcast.
And so what it was great was like for us, it was us siblings. It was Saturday morning. We sitting on the floor playing a video game together, but we all grown with families, whatever. However, there's this little kid, young kid, I should say, that ended up in some mission we were doing. And he went by Little Bricks, so I'm assuming his dad was probably Big Bricks. You know what I'm saying? But he is on there, and then his dad pops in. And so we find out that this is how his father spends time with him. This is secret. This is a secret relationship between father and son, playing a video game together, Fortnite, Tony Hawk, Grand Theft Auto. Age appropriate was not for that child, but hey, whatever. He was making the attempt to spend time because baby mama made it almost impossible. How do I know this? Is baby mama found out about it while we were on the game one day. And she went nuts. The kid's crying. She's yelling, how dare you be sitting here trying to do that, calling the dad. How dare you trying to hide behind my back, da-da-da. Now he don't have a game. Thanks to you. Because she wanted to keep him away, regardless of, he may have been a bad influence, whatever. But this man wanted to be part of his child's life so bad that he made sure he found a way to play games with him. We may not be able to play catch. We can play Madden.
We can play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is a hard one for me because again, I don't have. For me, I don't have guilt. As a father,
right? And I don't either.
I don't. So
that's why
it's hard for me to relate to this.
But that's why we relate. Kind of we're struggling. But a question I was had on the table earlier is why are all these men having all these babies? Period. Is it because they didn't have fathers? Because I was visiting Chicago once years ago. And, Chicago is famous for two-story gray stones. And I was in one of those on the first floor. And it was, so if you've been there, that then they have front porches. And there's a lot of kids on the front porch, young boys.
A bunch of YNs.
And they were talking. We could hear them through the window. And they were talking. And they were talking about trophies. And I got this trophy. And I got 3 trophies. One got 4 trophies. And I was like, wow, man, what sport are they in? And the person's house I was at, them, I'm not going to say what they said, but they're not in no sport. I said, well, how are they getting trophies? Because I'm ignorant to that. I don't know. And then she just looked at me. She said, Byron, they mean kids. I mean, are you telling me they're bragging about how many kids they have? And they're 16, 17, 18 years old? And then not any of them are working. Yet they're bragging, oh, that's right, I got 3, I got 4. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. No, I mean,
listen, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that play into it. I think that in modern society, we have shifted the priorities in life, and what's important to us. The pursuit of pleasure, the pursuit of happiness, the self-centric way of thinking, mentality of I am the most important, my pleasure is the most important, and sex feels good, and damn the consequences of it. There's not any accountability associated with the action, and we divorce the act of sex from procreation. I think that's a part of it. I think that feminist ideology plays a huge role in it. This idea that the man has been bamboozled into believing that he's not needed because women are running around talking about they don't need no man. So when a baby comes in, you hear the language, this is my baby, even though you didn't make a baby by yourself. So I think that those things play a huge part in it. And I think that overall, there's somewhere along the way in modern Western society, we don't care about line and lineage. We don't care about people groups and cultures. Okay, there's a reason why we have, the Yoruba tribe and the Igbo tribe, and we have Britons and we have Dutch. These individuals, these men took great pride in seeing the extension of their line and lineage.
So is that just in America? Is that unique to African American ethnicities?
no.
That's a good question. I mean, I see, unfortunately, I do see what it appears to me that the percentage of abandoned children seems to be a lot more amongst Afro-descendant people than others, ethnic groups.
I would say I agree with that to an extent, because there's also another piece, and it's the social economic status factors into it too. A lot of poor white children, dads is gone too.
Right.
I would agree with
And
that.
so it has a level of provision, right?
I think it was Breakfast Club. I was listening to a guest that said that narrative out there about black fathers is not true, is not accurate.
No.
In fact, they said that their black fathers are more caring than most fathers.
Yeah, more active
when they are present. I would agree. I mean, a lot of phenomenal black fathers, black men who love their kids and take great care of their kids. Okay? Well, and also, too, though, I don't deal with men who don't take care of their kids. So perhaps maybe I'm a little bit biased because I have no dealings with men who don't take care of their children. Because as soon as I find out that a man does not take care of his child, I'm holding him accountable. I'm checking him. Right. I'm asking him why. Because honestly, I don't want to deal with you because calamity is following you. I don't want to do business with you. I don't want to work with you. I don't want to do anything with you because if you don't even take care of your own seed, how are you going to treat me? If you don't take care of your children, we can't do business together. If you cheat your child of your time, you're going to cheat me. You're going to rob me too as well. I can't trust you if you don't take care of your children.
And so one thing I want to say, getting back to the fathers that are there, right?
Right.
Let me ask y'all this question, since y'all are not finding the guilt piece, right? Have you ever come home off the road, whatever, and mishandled one of your children? Overreacted, done something, I've acted like a poor father.
I've done that.
It acted out of character, I should say.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've done that.
And so that's part of
Absolutely,
some of
I've
the
done
guilt that I've had to feel. Wake up, and
But I don't feel guilty about it.
But I did wrong. I may have spoken poorly.
But I didn't do wrong
disrespected.
intentionally. I was out there busting my butt, stressed out, missing flights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When I got home, I was not in the state of mind I needed to be in.
If the child felt hurt, rejected,
I
all
apologize.
of that, you apologize.
I apologize
right?
to that child.
So, but for me, I did do wrong regardless of what the reasoning was. I can justify why I acted this way. I was tired. I got it before, whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, I was still guilty.
Are you Catholic?
No,
You're gonna send Josh to confessional.
no, we're gonna send
them priests would have sent me away.
Send him to Pope Anthony.
10 Hail Marys.
He's full of grace.
But I mean, for me, it just comes down to, as a child, that I was mishandled. We talked about that, right? So apologies, remorse, things like that didn't come, and so for me, it's important that, because being wrong is not. And really not just being wrong, but accepting responsibility, accepting accountability, all of that is a sign of strength. But a lot of times we associate it with being weakness, being misinformed, wrong, misstumbling, whatever the case is. We can act like, oh, I know I wasn't, blah, 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 but I was tired, but I was this. And I'm not saying that's the heart behind it, but why I say that guilt, and I don't feel like it's carrying around, it's on me, and I know I have to make it right because I hurt you. Even though it was unintentional, I still, the act was there, and therefore I need to address it. I may tell you, look, I was tired. It's not, and I tell my kids, there's no excuse for this, but I was tired. I was not feeling well, and I took it out on you, and that's not okay.
But once you say that,
it's
you gotta
gone.
let it go, right?
But how many dads don't actually go back and handle it?
Well, that's different, though.
That's what
good,
we're
though.
speaking to. Is because some of them are, like we talked about the sports game. The dad said he was going to make it to the game. His boss is tripping, line in the sand, you fired if you don't do this. The kid scores a touchdown, makes a basket, whatever, and now the father's having to relive this moment through his child sharing it with the child's letdown of him not being there. And there's some part of humanity you're going to feel bad, even though if I didn't do this, I couldn't pay the mortgage. But if I let you down. So there's that piece where there's nothing you can do in some cases.
But you're describing, though, to me, a father with good intentions. And accountability goes a long way, right? When you hold yourself accountable and you recognize, like we talked about this before, and I talked about having a culture of apology in my household, right? When you say, you know what, I was wrong, I apologize, man, kids are very, very forgiving.
Right.
You know, they want to forgive you. Right. They want restoration. They want reconciliation. They want things to be right. They want things to be correct. And so when you as a father, when you have the posture of accountability,
but a lot don't have that posture, and so a lot of them have guilt eating at them. So that's where it's guilt or remorse can be a call to action in regards to that, because not everybody handles it with accountability and integrity, right? So that's kind of why I said the ones that carry that father's guilt, they may not be taking the next step in action, comfort zone, or whatever the case may be, is what is it there for them what's the next step? How, if you're recognizing I'm feeling bad at my kid, I mishandled, I this, I that, just because we walk with that in our lives. Like I told you, my initial thought was blame the bank, right? Blame the bank. So I was trying to push that off. Right. But if we're walking this in our life, how do we help others get out of that comfort zone to decide, you know what, maybe there is another way. Maybe I do need to communicate with my child. Maybe I do need to apologize, whatever that looks like, because not everybody's wired in the way and has grown and done the work that we have as men. And that's kind of why I want to touch on this, because I know I feel it, and then I go address it so that it can be released. But what about the ones that let it fester and stew and allow distance and separation?
So, Byron, what is your solution? What is your solution for men that, again, I know I'm hard because I have a zero tolerance for men who take care of their kids. But for those men that are listening, that are feeling that guilt, but they want to do better, and they feel like, man, I've messed up. What are the steps they can take in order to restore, reconcile, right, and fix what they've done?
Well, I joked earlier and I asked him, are you Catholic? Well, I went to Catholic schools, right? And one of the things that Catholics do is they go and they confess their sins to the Father. And whether you agree with that or not, I'm not arguing that point. But to your point is, how do we get rid of guilt? I mean, we get rid of guilt by asking, but first apologizing, right? You got to be able to go up and apologize and ask that person you wronged, because guilt comes from a intentional wrong. Or maybe being an unintentional wrong based on what you said earlier. But at the point you recognize that what you did was wrong and it hurt that person, then you have to go and apologize and ask for forgiveness.
That's good.
Okay, you have been listening to The Father Factor. I'm your host, Byron Ricks. I've been chopping it up with my co-hosts, Josh and Brandon. We talked about the subject matter of a father feeling guilty. If you feel guilty as a father, remember, go and reconcile with the person you feel guilty, you have felt like you've wronged. If you like this podcast, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. Until next time, why? The Father Factor. Why? Because fathers count.